Empathy Day coming up, and I've been thinking about it. I don't know about you, but during lockdown, I've been doing some exercise classes, and they're great because they're making me use muscles I didn't even know I had. There's one where I have to stand on one leg, pick the other foot up, and hold it up behind me, and stand there for a minute, keeping my balance, and it's really difficult. But my goodness, I'm getting better at it now. And it's actually great because it's making me discover things about my legs and balance that I didn't know I could do. And at the same time, if you want to have empathy, it's something you have to practice. You have to make your empathy muscles stronger. And it's worth doing because if you've got empathy, people like you more, and you like other people more, and you become more popular. And if everybody has empathy for everybody else, the world becomes a much nicer place. So it's really worth working on empathy and getting it right. The way to get those empathy muscles really working well is very often by reading books. Because when you read a novel or a story, what you do is you enter somebody else's life, you put on their shoes, you walk around in them, you learn what it's like to be them, and that means you start having empathy with them. And sometimes, even in books where there are really bad and horrible people, you learn to understand them too, and that's really a very good thing. You understand that even people who might be bullies or might be quite cruel or might be quite sad have got really good reasons for what they're like. Makes you understand them. Sometimes I've travelled to different places to write my books, and I've met different people and I've heard about their stories, and so I've written about them. I've tried to have empathy with them and understand them. These ones are about refugees from Syria, and this one is about a war in Beirut, and this one is set in Ethiopia, and it's about a boy who wants to be an Olympic athlete, and this one is set in Palestine. But the book that actually I was thinking about today simply came into my head, and it was about a boy called Jake. I was daydreaming one day. It's a very good idea, by the way, to spend a lot of time daydreaming if you want to have empathy. Good idea to daydream because you can imagine yourself in different situations and how other people feel. Anyway, I saw in my mind's eye a boy, and he was running out of a block of flats, running across a road, and he saw a chain link fence on the other side of the road, and he climbed through it and he hid in some rough ground. And I thought, oh, he's frightened. What's he frightened of? And in my imagination, I looked back, and there was a man standing in the doorway, the entrance to the flats, a big, scary looking man. And I thought, he's scared of him. And the reason why I've chosen this story, which is actually called Jake's Tower, is because in this story, it's a good one for lockdown. There's Jake, there's the tower that he imagines himself living in a very dream tower, the top of it, where nobody can get to him and he's safe. Well, at the moment, we're safe in lockdown. Some people might wish they were in lockdown and they're not. Some people need to go and hide and be away from other people, and Jake is one of them. It was a funny experience writing Jake's Tower because I don't know where he came from. Every day he told me a bit of the story and I wrote it down, and then I thought, well, I could go on writing, but I won't because actually I'll force it and it won't come out right. So I'd go away and I'd do some cooking or go for a walk or something, and then the next morning the next bit of the story was ready in my head and I wrote it down. And when the story was finished, Jake seemed to turn round and walk away from me. He just kind of walked off. Didn't say goodbye, he just walked away. I don't know where he came from. I don't know where he went. It was a wonderful experience of actually getting inside another character. So I'm just going to read you the first little tiny bit of Jake's Tower. I found a secret place today. It was by accident. I was racing out of the house, running as fast as I could, anything to get away, and I got through the hole in the fence at the end of the lane, just above the railway line. I wriggled through the bushes, and then I fell into it, right in, splat. It's a good place. There are two huge square blocks, chunks of concrete, with a bit of space between. Not more than 1.5 meters, I'd say. The blocks must have been there for ages, because plants and creepers have grown up all over and round them. The creepers stretch over between the blocks to make a kind of roof. Once I've crawled into it, it's like being in a little house. My house. I could clean this place up and make it better. I could get a bit of plastic sheeting to put under the creepers to make a watertight roof. I could sleep here then if I had to, if it comes to that. I'd get started today if I could, but I can't do much because of my arm. The bruise is going to be the biggest I've ever had, I think. I'm not sure. It's hard to tell with bruises. So that's how the story begins. And Jake found himself a place where he felt he could be safe. The story is about how he and his mum find out that actually they can get out of their dangerous place and they can find a place where they can be safe and happy after all. So that's what I wanted to say.